In this video, we're going to be doing something that I've been putting off for a little while, which is creating the player stats and a very basic UI, as well as making the ammo work for the character guns. This is going to be a simple UI because otherwise it would take a very long time. I'm anticipating that this video will be longer than usual anyway, and there may be, the reason for that is that there's quite a lot of fiddly little things that we're going to have to switch around between. So you'll just have to watch carefully and try and follow along. And if you have any questions, then take a look in the comments below, see if anyone's answered them or ask it. So let's get started. The first thing that we are going to do is to go ahead and create a new folder down here called scripts if you don't already have it. And then in there, I'm going to create a new script and I'm going to call this player stats. Now I'm not actually going to type this code out bit by bit. I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to delete everything that's here. And I'm going to give you this code. So if you look down below in the comments, there is going to be a link to this code. I've just got to copy and paste it myself. So give me a second. There is a link to this code. Okay, so going through this code, just because it's very repetitive that I'm just going to give it to you. And we've got the player's health, their max health, the armor, starting value, the maximum armor, the weapons carried, pistol ammo, rocket ammo, shells ammo. You might want to change these to something more useful. I've got keys set to false and the current gun. Now you may want to change that to whatever the starting weapon is. Now, really important, because I've tried to make this as simple as possible without going into some pretty complex programming stuff. What I've had to do is do some things that are not the greatest practice. And so what we have to be aware of is that whatever your things are named should be the exact same name as the weapons down here. Let's see, like rocket launcher, pistol, and shotgun. Okay, we're going to actually use the names of these here, and this original node actually is what I'm talking about. So this one here is what we want to make sure that we've got correct. So if yours is all lowercase, you're going to want to type things in lowercase when we get up to it. So going back to this script though, not that one, this one. We've got a reset function which will just reset everything back to the default. It's just copying that exactly. And then we've got a function that takes damage. This will also subtract it from the armor. So if the amount of damage is greater than the armor, I don't know why I used that bit, didn't need that. If the amount of damage is greater than the armor, then the amount equals the amount minus armor, set the armor to 0, and then change the health by that amount. Otherwise, we just change the armor by negative amount. Okay, so that will, that should be, no, that was right. Yeah, that was right. Change the armor by that amount and then don't do any damage off the health. Okay, I've already checked this. And then we've got change health, adds it, clamps it to the max health, change armor, clamps it to the max armor, etc. Change pistol ammo, change shotgun ammo, change rocket ammo, change plasma ammo. You can create your own ones for these if you've got different ammo. I'm just keeping this pretty simple here. So get pistol ammo. This is going to be for printing out to the user interface later on. I'm just going to convert it to a string in here so I don't have to do it later. Get health, get armor. Okay, so that's that function there. And we're going to want to auto load this. So we're going to go to project settings and then auto load and add in this script and click add. It's going to be referenced by the name player stats. So you should have called yours player stats as well. Otherwise, every time I type player stats somewhere, you're going to have to type in whatever you type there. So this is now loaded into the computer's memory. It's always going to be there and it's good to go. We can reference it through its name and then dot notation for the functions or variables here. All right, so with that done, we've got to make an update to the player code. So if we go into the player code here, and I'll just go and check and make sure that I've got all my updates correct. So let's go into the player code. At the top here, I'm just going to give the player pretty much all the guns. So I've done that. So pistol, shotgun, Uzi, you can give them whatever gun you want. And then scrolling down a little bit, we want to add, just in here, we want to add player stats dot current gun equals new gun dot name. Okay, so that's going to get the name of whatever comes in here. Okay, and it's going to assign it up to here. This is going to be important so that when we're changing ammo and things like that, we know which one to change. Now, there are better ways to do this. So if you're a programmer and you can think of 100 better ways to do this, that's fine. This is aimed at, complete noobs, and I don't want to take too long in going through and explaining some concepts. Those kind of things come with time. The purpose of this is really just to get something made that you could build upon and improve upon later. So player stats.current gun equals new gun.name. So we're going to set that in there. We could have a bunch of if statements. We could have a bunch of match statements. Those might be better ways to do it. This is going to work for me for now. So that's that one there. And then we are going to go ahead and change the gun code. So if we open up the gun script, what I'm going to do here is in this one, I'll just open it on my other version as well. We're going to add something in here, and player stats dot ammo. And I know that this one uses the pistol ammo is greater than 0. So we're going to add that in there. And then down here, in the check hit bit, we can gun in for ray in gun raised. Okay, check hit. I'm just going to put in here player stats dot change pistol ammo -1. So every time we shoot, it's going to do that. Now, what that means is we need to make a change to our actual shotgun here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I don't think I can do anything with this. So I'm going to just remove this script from the shotgun. I'm going to duplicate this script down here, and I'm going to call it shotgun. And then I'm going to apply that script again. It will automatically take the name shotgun there. I'll load that. So if I double click this, making sure I'm editing shotgun, we're going to change this from ammo pistol to ammo shells and change shotgun ammo by -1. Like that. Okay, that'll make sure we get the right gun. So you'll need to do that for every gun that uses different ammo. Okay, so the shotgun, just a normal gun, which I probably should have renamed pistol in the beginning, but originally I was going to try and have one script that would do it all, and it would be amazing, but then it would be really long as well. So it's easier in this case just to do it separately. All right, so let's go ahead and we've updated the shotgun script. We've done an ammo check. So this one here, and that one checks the ammo shells. The next part is a bit weird. We want to start on the UI. Now, I don't want to just use a default text UI, so we're going to make some nice fonts for this. And Godot has 2 ways of doing fonts. You can either use the dynamic fonts, which is just like a normal font, and you can apply a little bit of color to it. It's a little bit boring because you can only really have one color, the color of the font. It can also support bitmap fonts, and bitmap fonts are pretty cool. So you may have seen me scrolling around here before, and I've got this doom.png where I've made this bitmap font here, and so it's got multiple colors in it, it's got gradients, it's got an outline on it, it's actually got shadow behind it. It looks good, and so we can use this as a font, but making it and finding them online is really difficult. I couldn't find any, but I did find a tool that would make them, and it's really easy to use. So the website is snowbee.org. So snowbee.org. Bitmap Font Generator Online is what it's called. It's Snowbee BMF. It's the beta version of it. And here's how it works. I'm going to add a font file. So I'm going to add that, and I've already got here doom.ttf. That's a font that I downloaded. It was just a Doom clone font. Click OK. That loads this up here. I can change the font size to something that I want. Now, this has to be the font size that I'm going to use in the game. I can't change it. So I chose size 22. Then all this stuff I left it for normal, but I picked a gradient and I went a linear gradient. I changed this to a bright red. I changed this to a dark red. And I changed the angle to 90, like that. So it's going like that. Then I put a stroke on it of about maybe 2 pixels, I think. And I made it a solid color, a dark red, like that. And I put a shadow on it. And I turned the offset down to 0 and just turned the blur, I think, up to 2 or 3. I don't remember. But there we go. I've got my font and I can give it a name here. Doom. And then I can export it. And like that, it'll download as a PNG file, sorry, not as a PNG, as a zip file, which you'll need to extract and bring into your Godot project. So you can see I've got the Doom FNT and the PNG. All right, so the next part is actually setting up the HUD. So once you've done that, and you can do a lot of really cool things with this, by the way. So you can have multiple kind of gradients. If you've seen some of the Doom fonts where they're like this, and then it's got like a blue at this end, but then in the middle we've got this orange color like that. I'm not sure about that blue. Make it a lighter blue, so we can do things like that there, and bring that up. There we go. You could, do whatever you want. You can also fill it with an image. Now, I'm not sure where you put the image. You may have to drag it into that there. Yeah, looks like you drag it in. You click on that. You can put an image in the text. And so there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this tool to make really neat fonts for Godot. So back to here though, we are going to make a new scene. I'm just going to load up my HUD because the Godot UI is the area that I'm probably the weakest on. I don't know a lot about it. There's a lot to it, and I haven't really taken the time to deep dive, so we're just going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to add a canvas layer. This is going to be the first thing I add. We've used these before. They're pretty straightforward. I'm going to call it HUD. HUD. Then I'm going to add a margin layer. Now this is going to make it so that everything is contained within this margin. And we're going to make it a full margin. But we're going to add, if I go back to my one here, we're going to make it so that there's about 20 pixels on each side. So negative 20 off those other sides. You can see we're going to contain it within that bounds. Then I'm going to add a HBox container. This is going to divvy things up across the screen horizontally, so nice and equal across the screen. And this HBox container I'm going to just call stats. Then I'm going to have some VBox containers here. And these are going to label things nice and neat. So this first VBox container is going to be called labels. Then I'm going to add another, I'll just duplicate that 3 times. I'll add another one and call it values. And then I'll add another one and call it ammo. Now under each of these, I'm going to add some labels. So I'm going to add 2 labels under this one, a label under this one, under this second one, values, and then a single one under there. And I'm going to go ahead and name these. So this is going to be called armor label. And this one is health label. And don't worry about where they are at the moment. We're going to set all those up in a minute. This one's going to be armor value. And this one's going to be health value. And this one's going to be ammo. Or ammo value, sorry. Okay, so this one here, this VBox container, we need to set the alignment to begin, which it is. And we need to set, I think everything in this one is actually fine. It's the labels section that is kind of the weird one. Yeah, we want to set labels, the alignment to labels to end. Now we're just going to put some text in this one. So this is the armor label. It's going to be called armor. I'll put it all lowercase. This one is going to be called health. So this is health label, my mistake. but we're just going to put health there. So you can see that comes down the bottom. Then this one, this values, I'm going to align that to the end, and then we're going to put some values in here. So this is going to be 0, and this one will be 100. Now we want this to be aligned to the right, and this to be aligned to the right. And we're going to go through and do some things in a sec as well. So this one here, we're going to align to, oops, this MO box is going to be aligned to the end. And then we're going to go MO value. We're just going to set that to 0. Okay, so this is a bit of a mess at the moment. We want it to look a little bit nicer. So with the MO value, we are with the labels, we're going to set a minimum width on this. So this here, we're going to go to rect, and we're going to set a minimum size of 80, like that. And actually, we're not going to do that. We'll apply the font first because it might change things. So let's go ahead and apply the font to this here. We're going to click theme, and we're going to make a new theme, and click in here. And we're going to set default font for the theme. We're just going to drag our font file that we imported in. It's going to bring that up, which means that everything down here will have changed as well. Okay, so we've changed all that, and we've got some default fonts in our theme. Pretty simple. We don't have to worry about it. Like I said, we can't actually change the size of this bitmap font. Not easily, at least. So we had to make it the size that we wanted. If yours is too big, you may need to remake that image. So these here, this label section, we're going to set the minimum size to be 120. We're going to set the value size to be, I'm going to go rect, and we're going to set it to be minimum size. We're going to set that to be 80. And then for the MO, we're going to set this under size flags. We're going to expand it horizontally. And now how have I done it on here? MO, let me just double check. Size flags, yep, expand horizontally. This one here, I think we want this to be aligned to the right. There we go. Okay, so that should set us up. We're going to have some MO values down here, some armor values down here, MO value in the corner, and it will all be nice and neat. Now, if we were to change the resolution of the screen, this should change as well, and we shouldn't have to worry about those exact values. But I'm just keeping this simple. You could go really, really off the deep end with this and make a really complex UI using all these things here. A lot of it comes down to these boxes and the flags that you use and the alignment of things. But I've found that some of them don't seem to do anything visible. I'm sure they do something, but I'm not sure what they do or how to explain it. All right, so then we're going to add in some scripting for the HUD. We'll save this actually. We'll save this as HUD into our scenes. We're going to add script to the HUD. Okay, so the script here is going to be, I've actually forgotten one thing. In player.gd. No, I didn't. Actually, I did do that. All good. Okay, so let's go back to the HUD code. So the HUD code is pretty simple. We're just going to delete all of this stuff. And we are going to say onReady var. We're just going to define some things. So armor equals $. We want to get the armor value. So we're just going to scroll down until we find armor value. It's just so we don't have to write that out every time. OnReady var health equals $margin container. We'll just find the health value, that one there. And then OnReady var mo equals $margin container mo value. There we are. Now, the next part's pretty simple. It's just going to be a process function. We're going to update this every frame. Makes it easier just to do it in one place rather than kind of update it when the gun fires or whatever. We'll just constantly keep track of this. Current gun. Oops, fire current gun equals player stats dot current gun. So we're just going to get whatever gun the player's carrying. Armor.text equals player stats dot get armor, and health dot text equals player stats get health. And then we need this bit here. Now I'm just going to copy this bit of code rather than type it out a whole lot of times. But what we've got here is if the current gun that it gets from the player stats.current gun is equal to pistol, ammo text equals player stats.get ammo pistol. If the current gun is equal to shotgun, ammo.text equals player stats.get shotgun ammo. If the current gun is equal to Uzi, ammo.text equals player stats.get pistol ammo. And if the current gun is a rocket launcher, ammo.text equals player stats.get rocket ammo. You'll notice that the Uzi and the pistol both use the same ammunition, and that was intended. So let's go ahead, and I should be able to put this HUD into the world now. We could probably make it part of the player, but I'm just going to put it into the world for now. It doesn't have to be part of the player, and run this. So down in the bottom right corner, I've got my 50. If I click, I shoot, it does one loses one ammo per shot. But you will notice now that mouse look doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. And it was working fine before. So why is this? It's because in the player code, we have got this bit of code here. All right, so set mouse mode input.mouse mode captured. What that does is it captures the mouse and pretty much keeps the mouse point in the center of the screen. However, now we've put this massive margin container taking up this whole thing, and a margin container is a UI component, which means it eats up any mouse input. And now, if I go back to the player code, this unhandled input is no longer unhandled because it is eaten up by the HUD. So what we have to do is very simple, and we just select all of these things here. We go over to mouse, and for filter, instead of saying pass, we just say ignore the mouse. Just ignore it completely. And then when we run the game again, we can do our mouse look. If we change shotgun, I can't shoot because I don't have any ammo. If I go to Uzi, I can shoot. I really need to get a crosshair happening. I feel like the Uzi probably shoots too fast. I'm not sure. It does seem to shoot quite a lot. And then now I can't shoot with the pistol. So we've got a pretty simple UI. We're just going to keep it nice and low. Now you may want to have some other stuff like a little face down there that changes graphics based on how damaged your character is. And that would be very easy to do with a bunch of if statements or match statements and updating the UI based on that. You could go ahead and have little images. We will actually add this one in, little images for the keys that you've collected. And there we go. So it's probably starting time to make a few additional enemies at this stage and adding some more guns before we move on to the next major section, which will be adding some smarter AI for the enemies and level design. Now I'm still toying up between using an actual level editor for this and doing it in Blender. I'm kind of leaning towards Blender just because I am more familiar with it. The process is more straightforward. We don't have to set up and learn a whole lot of new things for editing Quake maps. But there are options where you can use Quake, well, it's called Godot, and it's a Quake importer for Quake maps for Godot. And you can use a level editor like Trench Broom to do that. I'm leaning towards Blender, so that's probably where we'll end up at. And we'll look at how to do some level editing in Blender and what that would require. Because currently, if you remember, our player has a box for feet, which means he can't move upstairs because the box will move into that. So we may have to make some changes in there. But that's all coming up shortly. This video I'd been putting off for a while because I wasn't keen on it. Remember, all the stuff is down below in the description.